Hey, welcome to Inspiration Station, where it's safe to exercise your soul, and together we get fit to create. I'm Karina, founder of Koi Compositions, and Inspiration Station is a resource for you to rely on anytime you're feeling drained, or if your creativity pool is depleted. This is for you to use whenever you need encouragement or a reminder to believe in you. Today, I want to talk about practice. Practice, we all do it. Sometimes we love it, sometimes we hate it, but either way, practice is essential. Practice is the path to mastery. And even if you're not striving for mastery, exercising your soul to achieve growth of any kind takes practice. Practice, the definition of it, is to do often, repeatedly, or habitually, to be engaged in, to pursue, and to apply. My favorite part of that definition is to be engaged in. When we are practicing our creative art, we are fully engaged in it. And I just really think that illustrates a beautiful relationship between ourselves and our creative practice. I want to address a statement that I believe is inherently false, and we use it all the time in our vernacular, and it's practice makes perfect. Nope. No, it does not. Practice, instead, makes permanent. Whatever it is that we practice, that is what will occur when we go to do that thing. If we were to use that phrase, it would have to say perfect practice makes perfect. Because we perform what we practice. And if we want to perform perfectly, we then must practice perfection. And that's just not how we learn. It's an unrealistic expectation. Mistakes are teachers. To make a mistake when you practice shows us where practice is needed, where more engagement is needed, more repetition, more application of new things, and maybe questions, wondering what is happening? How do I come around this? It creates an opportunity for problem solving, which is essentially how our brain grows and develops and learns. So I want to talk for a moment about practicing bad habits. When we practice things, we risk making mistakes. But when we do not correct those mistakes, then they turn into habits. And we call these bad habits only because they don't lead us towards our ultimate goal. They lead us away from the goal of what we're trying to do. This is easiest for me to apply to piano because I am a pianist and I am a piano teacher, and so I practice the piano a lot. And I make a lot of mistakes when I am learning a new song. And those mistakes are wonderful opportunities for learning, if I choose to listen to them. I have some students who feel guilty every single time they make a mistake when they play for me. And I understand, because we have a culture where mistakes are taboo. Mistakes are frowned upon. We stick our nose up at them. We don't like them. We try to avoid them as much as possible. But that doesn't allow us to fully engage in the practice that we are trying to apply to ourselves. It makes us turn away from our number one teacher. To know there was a mistake there. Start asking questions. Why did that happen? Is it because I got distracted? Is it because my fingers got in the way? Is it because I read the wrong note? Is it because I don't fully understand what I am supposed to do at this point? Is it because my skill level is too low? Is it because, there's so many questions that we can ask. And these questions is what allow us to then correct the mistake and improve. And I try really, really hard to teach my students to celebrate mistakes. Celebrating mistakes teaches our brain that we don't need to avoid them, but instead to pay attention to them so that we can know where we want to improve. Often, though, when we are practicing something, we don't know or recognize when a bad habit has been created. This has happened many times in my life. When I would play the piano, my dad would tell me that he could tell when a part was difficult for me. And I was like, yeah, because I'm messing up left and right here. And he was like, no, it's because you tuck your chin down into your chest. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Sure enough, when I played it again, I noticed I tuck my chin into my chest when I'm coming up on this part that I'm kind of afraid of because it's really hard and I don't know how to correct it yet. And over time, I was able to correct that bad habit. And then he pointed out I would scrunch up my shoulders and just create tension in my shoulders and in my neck. And after I remedied that, then I instead developed the habit to bite my lip. We create these habits that sometimes we are unaware of until somebody points them out to us. And it takes practice to build a habit and practice to undo a habit. I want to share another experience where I needed physical therapy because I was experiencing extreme back pain. And I went to my physical therapist and he asked me to walk around the room. So I walked around the room and then he asked me to sit down like I would at the piano. And so I did. And then he asked me to walk up and down the stairs. And I did. When I came back to him, he looked at me and said, yep, that was all wrong. All wrong. We need to completely relearn how to do all of those things. I was like, I'm 20 years old. How am I walking and sitting wrong? That does not make sense. And he started trying to teach me how to feel the relationship in my body parts to each other. My legs to my hips and my abdomen and my chest and my neck, my arms, and all these things, how they all work together. Walking is not just about your feet and your legs. It's about your whole body. And I believe that creativity is the same way. It's not just about our brain, our eyes, our hands, our voice, whatever we're using to create. It's about our whole body and how we relate as a whole person to what we're creating. Anyways, my physical therapist started teaching me these things, and then he'd say, okay, walk up the stairs, and I'd take 2 steps. He's like, wrong, come back down, try again. Wrong, come back down, try again. It was very frustrating. And again, when I would sit down at the piano bench, nope, try again, stand up and sit down again. And just constant practice and learning how to engage with my body in a way that was not going to cause it pain. My muscles were very used to how I was moving. And so I had to practice a new way to engage. And that required an awareness of when I was doing it wrong. I did not get better at walking or sitting or going up and down stairs in a way that would not cause my body pain until I first became aware where I could tell before my physical therapist said anything that I had done it incorrectly, that I had made the mistake. That awareness was the critical turning point to my progression. And I'm happy to say that now I know how to walk properly for my body, that I know how to relate to my body in a way to understand when pain happens, how to correct that pain. And that's really what practice is. When we are practicing our creativity, it's learning how to recognize when it's not working the way that we want, and then finding a way to correct that. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said, "Everything is hard before it is easy." Everything. Even if you have played thousands of piano pieces, the next piece that you have never played before is going to be hard before it is easy. There might be some skills that you have to make it easier than 200 pieces ago, or 200 paintings ago, or 200 books, or pages, or words, or sketches, whatever it is. You have the skills to make it easier, but it will still be harder before it gets easier. And it's hard because progress is often not visible when we are the ones trying to progress. Progress is an invisible force. It's hard to see. And so ways that help me to recognize progress, because I think recognizing progress through our practice helps us better celebrate those mistakes and better helps us create the permanence that we want. You can self-reflect on skills gained. I love writing lists of new skills. It's so fun because so often by the time you're writing it down, you've taken the skill for granted. You don't realize, oh, I used to not be able to do this. I used to not recognize this relationship, or this is a new line technique, or, the way I relate to my body in this way is new. That's a new skill. And when we write down and physically recognize these new skills that we have gained, we're able to recognize our progress. And that's really exciting. One thing I will say about skills gained, being able to recognize when you have made a mistake is a skill. It is something that we practice. And that awareness sometimes takes a long time, and it will get shorter and shorter and shorter. And it is something to celebrate when you can recognize the mistake, because that means that you are on a track of progression that will lead to your ideal permanence. It's also great to have a support system and to ask for other people's perspective, because other people can see your progress better than you can see your progress. Check in, ask frequently. Hey, I'm feeling a little frustrated with where I'm at right now. Can you please give me a broader perspective of how I'm doing? And what progress have you seen? What skills have you seen that I've gained? Or what mindset changes have you seen that I've gained? Because mindset is an important part of creating also. And that is also something that needs to be practiced, how to have a mindset that creates an environment where what you want to become is possible. Francis Clark said, "A student is almost always motivated to practice if he leaves his lessons feeling capable." Such a beautiful quote. I love it. And we are all students in our own space. We are students in our creative space. So how do you speak to yourself when you're practicing? When you are creating? Do you speak to yourself to allow yourself to know that you are capable? I really hope so. Because that is what will help our practice push us towards our goals with love and confidence and acceptance. Sometimes we have to accept, right now I'm not where I want to be, but there's no judgment or shame in that. It's an awareness. This is where I am. This is where I'm going, and practice will get me there. Shaming does not get you there. Ever. It will never get you where you want to go. Oscar Wilde said, "Experience is simply the name we give our mistakes." And William Jordan said, "Mistakes are the growing pains of wisdom." I believe practice never makes perfect, and we're not really seeking perfect. We don't need to live up to someone else's measurement of what is perfect. Find out what you are seeking for and practice for that aim. Perfect practice makes perfect, but we don't need perfect practice. We need mistakes. Mistakes is how we learn. It's how our brain is able to connect the dots. Mistakes are precious. I believe that you are not defined by your mistakes, and that is not a permanent state. If you have been reacting to mistakes in a way of judgment and shame and belittling, you can change that and instead react to mistakes in love and compassion and understanding and acceptance and joy. Hooray! A mistake was made. We can address it now. This is wonderful. That is a wonderful opportunity as a creator to recognize. And I believe that the more you practice, the more mistakes you will become aware of. And hopefully, the more you will also be able to recognize how wonderful you are and how wonderful your creations are. I'm excited to talk to you again soon. Until then, stay creative. Thank you so much to my patrons for their support, which enables me the freedom to make the content I want. And a special thanks to you for listening. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any releases. And if you want to support me and my channel, you can become a patron at patreon.com/koicompositions.